Have you ever caught yourself saying, "It's just not meant for me"? Maybe you've blamed bad luck, timing, other people, or even fate itself for where you are in life right now. But what if the real reason isn't fate? What if it's your patterns? Because the truth is this: your life doesn't change when your circumstances change. It changes when your patterns change. And most people never look there. They stay focused on what's happening to them instead of what keeps happening through them. Think about it. The same types of relationships that keep failing, the same financial struggles that keep repeating, the same emotional triggers that keep showing up, just with different faces, different names, different situations. At some point, you have to stop and ask yourself a hard question. Is this really fate, or is this familiar? Because patterns don't feel like patterns when you're inside them. They feel like reality. They feel normal. They feel justified. And that's exactly why they're so dangerous. You don't question what feels normal. You repeat it. Let's break it down. Patterns are built through repetition, years of thoughts, beliefs, reactions, and habits stacked on top of each other. Over time, they become automatic. You don't choose them consciously anymore. They run in the background, shaping your decisions without your awareness. So, when something goes wrong, it's easy to say, "That's just how life is." But what if life is just reflecting what you keep choosing, again and again? For example, if you constantly find yourself in relationships where you're undervalued, it might not be because all people are the same. It might be because you've learned to tolerate less than you deserve. If you keep procrastinating on things that could move your life forward, it's not always laziness. It could be a pattern of fear of failure, fear of judgment, or even fear of success. If you feel stuck, overlooked, or behind, it might not be bad luck. It might be a pattern of playing small to stay safe. And here's the uncomfortable part. Patterns don't come from nowhere. They come from conditioning, from the way you were raised, from what you saw growing up, from what you were taught to believe about yourself, about others, and about the world. If you grew up in chaos, peace can feel unfamiliar. If you grew up being criticized, success can feel uncomfortable. If you learned that love has to be earned, you'll chase it, even when it hurts you. So instead of asking, "Why does this keep happening to me?" start asking, "What am I repeating?" Because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. And, that's where your power begins. But here's the challenge. Awareness alone isn't enough. You can recognize a pattern and still fall back into it. Because patterns are comfortable, even when they're painful. They're predictable. They're familiar. They feel like home. Breaking them means stepping into the unknown. And the unknown feels dangerous to your mind, even if it's better for your life. That's why people stay stuck. Not because they don't want better, but because better feels unfamiliar. So, how do you break a pattern? Well, you interrupt it. You pause in the moment when you would normally react the same way, and you choose differently. That might mean walking away instead of chasing, speaking up instead of staying silent, taking action instead of overthinking, letting go instead of holding on. It won't feel natural at first. In fact, it might feel wrong. But that's a sign you're doing something new. And new is exactly what you need. Because you can't create a different life with the same patterns. Let that sink in for a moment. You can't expect new results while running the same internal program. And here's the truth most people avoid. Blaming fate is easier than taking responsibility. Because if it's fate, you don't have to change. If it's fate, it's out of your hands. If it's fate, you get to stay the same and still hope things improve. But hope without change is just waiting. And waiting keeps you stuck. Responsibility, on the other hand, is uncomfortable. It forces you to look at yourself, to question your choices, to admit that maybe, just maybe, you've been participating in the very cycles you're trying to escape. Not consciously, but consistently. And that's not something to feel guilty about, it's something to feel empowered by. Because if your patterns created your current reality, then new patterns can create a new one. That means you're not stuck, you're just repeating. And repetition can be changed. So the next time something goes wrong, pause before you blame fate. Look closer. Ask yourself, what did I ignore? What did I tolerate? What did I repeat? What felt familiar here? Because your answers are not out there. They're in your patterns. And once you start seeing them, everything changes. You stop feeling like life is happening to you. And you start realizing that life is responding to you, to your habits, to your beliefs, to your standards, to your actions. That's where real control comes from. Not controlling everything around you, but understanding what's happening within you. So stop blaming fate. It's not fate keeping you stuck. It's the patterns you haven't questioned yet. And the moment you do, you don't just change your outcomes, you change your entire direction.